When 70-year-old Stephen Beard Jr. met 32-year-old Celeste Martinez, it was love at first sight. Following a whirlwind romance, Celeste and her two daughters went from struggling to make ends meet to living a life of opulence, including first-class world travel, a $1 million mansion home, and access to all the designer labels one could think of. But everything changed 4 years later, when Stephen was shot in his home. What followed was a messy tale of lies, spurned lovers, and greed. But first, I'd like to thank Private Internet Access for sponsoring today's episode. Every single part of our lives now involves understanding acronyms and jargon, like www or ASAP, or even VPN. We use these words and phrases, but how many of us understand what a VPN is? A virtual private network, or VPN, is an app that hides your IP address when you're online. It protects your online browsing, and much more. It's like when a police officer goes undercover. They can access places they'd never been able to go in uniform, and nobody will be able to track them. So why go online and shout your identity for everyone to follow? Luckily, we're working with an amazing sponsor today who helps you stay safe online: Private Internet Access. Logging on from a public network without using PIA is like eating undercooked chicken. All it takes is one bad bit to get salmonella. It's not only the safety concerns that PIA want to help you with, they also help you access websites that aren't available in your region by changing your geolocation to wherever you want to be. PIA includes all major streaming services, so you can stream the latest movies straight to your home. For example, catching Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, which you can't get in the UK, but you can if it looks like you're logging in from Japan. You can use PIA on all platforms, including Windows, Mac OS, Android, iOS, and more, and you can protect your entire household with only one subscription. PIA works well for us because it keeps us safe online and lets us access content that's not readily available in our region, which is important when researching stories around the world, as news sites are often locked to specific geographic locations. By clicking the link in the description, you can get 83% off on Private Internet Access. That's just $2.03 a month, and you also get 4 extra months completely for free. And now let's dive in with today's mysteries. Retired Fox broadcasting executive Stephen Beard Jr. led a good life. He lived in a $1 million mansion, traveled first class, and spent his afternoons at an upscale country club in Austin, Texas. It was here, in 1995, that he met Celeste Martinez, a 32-year-old waitress who'd been divorced 3 times and had 2 children, Christina and Jennifer, from her first marriage. A whirlwind romance soon ensued. Loved ones told Stephen that the marriage wasn't likely to last, in part because of their enormous age gap, but also because they didn't have anything in common except his money. For Celeste, marrying a man this wealthy was a game changer. Born February 13th, 1963, in Culver City, California, she grew up in foster care. She recalled that once she met her birth mother briefly, but was told, quote, "I am not your mother, I was just your incubator." The identity of her biological parents is unknown. Her foster parents, Edwin and Nancy Johnson, were reportedly not fit parents. Celeste claimed that she was sexually abused by Edwin growing up, and that she attempted to take her own life at least once in her teen years. At 17, she became pregnant and gave birth to twin girls, Jennifer and Christina. The father of the children, Craig Bratcher, became her first husband. The union did not go well. Celeste described Bratcher as being abusive. The couple would later divorce, with Bradshaw taking his own life in 1996. Over the next few decades, Celeste would travel from state to state and marry twice more, though she never had any more children. In 1993, following her third failed marriage, she moved to Texas and picked up work as a waitress. Her children would later recall that they had a troubled relationship with their mother, who they claimed often neglected them, noting that she was rarely affectionate. Stephen, meanwhile, had been married for 42 years, but his wife had died 2 weeks earlier due to terminal brain cancer. Just 1 month after meeting for the first time, he asked the mother of two to move into his home with her children. Stephen's 3 grown children recalled being bothered about how quickly the relationship was moving. His daughter, Becky, noted, "I wasn't happy about the relationship, but Dad was really happy." Trouble between the two brewed quickly. Just a few months after the pair married, on February 18, 1995, Stephen's banker told him that Celeste had been removing jewelry and silver belonging to his deceased wife from his safety deposit box. Upset by the news, Stephen began filing for divorce. A friend of his recalled, "Stephen couldn't have his wife stealing from him. He was really sad about it." But Celeste managed to talk Stephen into staying. The couple reconciled, and the divorce petition was withdrawn. For a while, things seemed okay again. Stephen legally adopted Christina and Jennifer when they were 17. Christina described her new stepfather as funny, adding, quote, "I really got attached to him." For years, Celeste spent her husband's money to her heart's content. She bought herself luxury vehicles and lavish jewelry, sometimes spending between $15,000 and $30,000 in one shopping trip. The union continued without further trouble until 1999, when Celeste admitted herself to a psychiatric hospital in Austin because she was experiencing suicidal thoughts. She had been suffering from depression her entire life, with her children later recounting the time that she held a gun to her head during a particularly angry argument with her husband. When later asked about this event, Celeste recalled, "Our house was a complete war zone. Stephen wanted me to have nothing to do with the kids, as far as disciplining them. I felt like I was going to be totally alone in this big house because he passed out every night. It was just too much, and I was so upset about everything. I was so depressed. I just wanted to kill myself at that point." Here, in the treatment facility, Celeste met an individual who would change her life forever. Tracy Tarleton, a bookstore manager and fellow patient who struggled with alcohol addiction. The exact nature of the pair's relationship is unclear. Prosecutors and witnesses would later say that the two were romantically involved, while Celeste's lawyer claimed that Tarleton was obsessed with her and Celeste only wished to be friends. Whatever the case may be, in the psychiatric facility, the two bonded over their trauma, having both been raised in abusive households. They were both released in the summer of 1999, and continued to maintain their relationship, with Celeste even throwing Tarleton a party at the mansion. Jennifer Beard would later state, "It was pretty obvious that Tarleton had feelings for Celeste." Celeste's children weren't the only ones to see the connection the two women shared, with friends noting instances where Celeste would sit on Tarleton's lap, or Tarleton would snuggle close to Celeste and whisper in her ear. On one occasion, Christina caught the pair kissing in Celeste's bed. Christina later told Stephen about what she'd seen, but her mother denied everything. Celeste later told Snaps behind bars, quote, "They never saw that, and I never kissed her." Despite the denials, Stephen had his suspicions and banned Tarleton from visiting their home in Westlake Hills. Then, on October 2nd, 1999, everything changed. It was almost 3:30 in the morning when emergency dispatchers received a call from Stephen. "I need an ambulance. Hurry," he said. "My guts just came out of my stomach." Emergency responders arrived promptly on the scene, where they found the 74-year-old alone in his bedroom, with his hand clutched over a hole in his stomach. It was initially speculated that his injury was the result of a recent surgery he'd undergone, but this was soon proved wrong. Celeste appeared shortly afterwards, surprised to see her husband's bedroom filled with medics. She typically slept in a separate wing of the mansion due to the noise from Stephen's CPAP machine, and did not appear to be aware of the emergency. She went with her husband to the hospital. Back in the mansion, investigators discovered one of their most important pieces of evidence, a 20-gauge shotgun shell near the bed. Though they wished to question Stephen, Celeste reportedly hired a defense lawyer and refused to allow law enforcement to speak with her or her husband. Meanwhile, Stephen had survived the surgery in spite of his massive internal injuries, but still had a long way to go before he fully recovered. The police next turned their attention to Celeste's children, who pointed them in the direction of Tracy Tarleton almost immediately. Speaking with further witnesses, investigators learned of Celeste and Tarleton's relationship and decided that this was as good a place to start as any. They approached Tarleton to inform her of the shooting and questioned her in connection with the case. Inside her home, they found what they described as a shrine to Celeste, with dozens of her photos up. When they questioned her about her guns, Tarleton handed over a 20-gauge shotgun. Testing would soon prove that this was the murder weapon. Before long, Tarleton admitted that she had been the one to shoot Stephen, but when pressed for motivation, she refused to speak further. Months passed, and Stephen was released from hospital, but just one day later, he was readmitted. Hospital staff determined he was suffering from an infection. He died shortly afterwards on January 22nd, and the charges against Tarleton were upgraded to murder. Celeste, meanwhile, went back to life as normal. She spent money, she partied, and she behaved, by all accounts, as if she hadn't just lost her husband. Jennifer noted, quote, "The way she acted wouldn't be a way a widow would act. I just remember her laughing a lot, kind of in a way that she was relieved that he wasn't around anymore." Police noted her behavior too, with one sergeant who'd responded to the shooting saying, "I remember Celeste saying, 'This is perfect timing. We were supposed to go to Europe tomorrow.' I found that an odd thing for a wife to say after her husband had been shot." Furthermore, Celeste told friends that she was feeling too much grief and she needed to check into a clinic, but instead, she traveled to New Orleans for Mardi Gras and partied it up. Just 5 months after Stephen's death, she married a carpenter named Cole Johnson. Christina observed that she didn't seem upset. Shortly after Celeste tied the knot for the 5th time, Tracy Tarleton finally opened up to investigators. In exchange for 20 years in prison, she agreed to fully testify against Celeste. Her change of heart reportedly came after she learned that Celeste had married somebody else. She claimed that she had been romantically involved with the mother of 2 and was heartbroken to hear of the marriage, as it solidified her fears that her relationship with Celeste had been a sham. She told police that she had shot Stephen because, according to Celeste, he was abusive, and his treatment of her was so awful that she was contemplating suicide. Travis County Sheriff Margot Frazier said, "We spoke to a lot of people who knew them, and there was no indication that Stephen Beard was ever physically or mentally abusive towards Celeste or the twins." Celeste reportedly convinced Tarleton to use her shotgun to shoot Stephen, and even turned off the alarm system and left his bedroom door unlocked so that she would have easy access to him. Tarleton told investigators, however, that she had not been responsible for his death, claiming that it was Celeste who had purposefully infected her husband's wounds so that she could be rid of him. Celeste would later deny this, stating, "That's just another one of their lies. He wasn't home long enough." Celeste was indicted for murder in March 2002 and entered a plea of not guilty. She maintained her innocence, denying that she had an affair with Tarleton and claiming that the bookstore manager was deluded and had made the entire scenario up in her head. She stated that though Tarleton had grown romantically interested in her, the two had a strictly platonic friendship, and even accused Tarleton of sexual assault, with several witnesses admitting that she tried to kiss Celeste when she was passed out during her daughter's high school graduation in 1999. But prosecutors would later have Christina and Jennifer testify, corroborating that they had seen their mother and Tarleton willingly kiss. Responding to their accusations, Celeste told Snapped behind bars, quote, "It makes me sick. You always hear blood is thicker than water. Not in my case." The defense, meanwhile, painted the twins as money-hungry women testifying against their mother to access Stephen's massive wealth. Christina reportedly stated, "I do not remember," when asked questions by the defense 298 times. Celeste stated, quote, "When they found out that they weren't going to get any money till I died or went to prison, that's when they turned against me. My kids sold me to the state of Texas." Still, the twins also told the court some of the many horrific things their mother would say about her husband, with Christina noting that she made comments like, "Why doesn't he just die already?" and "She married Stephen for his money," and she would say that he disgusted her. The sisters also claimed that they'd once seen Celeste break apart a sleeping pill and put it in his baked potato. They suspected that their mother was knocking Stephen out so that she could go and visit Tarleton. Celeste was ultimately found guilty of capital murder and sentenced to life behind bars. The jury reached their decision in just 3 days. Jennifer noted that in court was the last time she saw her mother. Tarleton, meanwhile, was given 20 years, but was paroled in 2011. Celeste will be eligible for parole in 2042, when she is 80 years old. Of her conviction, she said, "I was devastated. It's not right that I'm spending the rest of my life in prison, and there is no evidence against me. I just wish somebody could come forward and help me." But it wasn't just the testimony of Tarleton, Jennifer, and Christina that helped put the mother of two away. One of the most damning pieces of evidence was a tape-recorded conversation between Celeste and Christina, where Celeste admitted to trying to hire someone to kill Tarleton so that she couldn't testify. Christina recalled the decision she made to start recording the calls, noting that her mother had been abusive and lashing out. She was saying psychological, horrible stuff, Christina noted, so I just started taping our conversations when they would get out of hand. In the tapes, Celeste can be heard yelling at her children and crying hysterically. Celeste continues to protest her innocence. She is imprisoned at the Texas Department of Criminal Justice Lane Murray Unit in Gatesville. And there you have the facts. Please leave a comment below with your own thoughts and reactions, and remember to like this video and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you for watching. Stay alert, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.